Welcome! You're listening to the Peace and Passion podcast, the place for conscious couples and individuals who want to explore aspects of their relationships as a self-growth evolution. I'm your host, Iman Iskander, and I'm a couples therapist and counselling coach on a mission to shore up your relational life with useful information and tips, as well as inspiration and ideas from the great minds of our guests, so you can skillfully and confidently and mindfully navigate the relationship with yourself and with others and with all of life and its challenges. On with the show. Is conflict bad? Today I want to talk to you about this thing we call conflict. Disagreements, fights, mishaps, all these things where two people living together just are not agreeing, the conversation is not flowing. And sometimes conflict emerges. That means things might escalate and we get a bit of argy-bargy. And I want you to know that it's not so much the conflict that's bad. Conflict is not the enemy. It's what we do with conflict, the words and the phrases that we use, the way we behave. We can trash the relationship. We can do so much damage by insulting our partner, by behaving poorly, perhaps slamming things, walking out. That's what does the damage in relationships. It's not so much that we disagree. It's what we do with the disagreement. We know that a happy and connected relationship does not occur through the elimination of conflict. That's not what creates a happy relationship. Conflict is not the problem. Sometimes when people come into couples therapy, they indicate that they've been fighting a lot, so it means that things are bad. And you know what my very first question is? It's always about, what do you do after a fight? Because what I'm after is what happens after the fight. Do they repair? Do they heal? Do they get to some sort of normality? So conflict itself is not the relationship enemy. We don't have to have a war on conflict, folks. Conflict does bring out some of the relationship problems that may not serve us anymore, and we do need to be able to resolve our issues. It's the way you do that within the conflict and what you do after the conflict by way of repair that makes all the difference. So let's have a look at what happens in conflict. A couple, when they're in conflict, they might be able to express their opinions and thoughts and feelings and do that in a gentle and safe and tender manner. They might do that politely. They might do it as this holding space to understand themselves and their partner better. If both of you are doing that, then you're going to get a deep understanding of your partner's inner world. And that's what we want for two people to live happily together with peace in between them. We want you to understand each other at a deep level and then be able to move together with your differences using compromise, using strategies that enable you to find a peaceful way of living together. But sometimes it doesn't happen that way. Sometimes we notice there's a disagreement and actually issues get raised in harsh ways. Words come out of our mouth that we want to take back. But once they're out, my friend, you've done the damage. Words hurt. And if you're using words to hurt your partner, maybe calling them names or maybe there's some abuse, then you can't just leave that. You're going to have to apologize for your bad deeds. But it's better not to let them out in the first place. So can you be contained and controlled? And can you discuss without letting conflict come in between you? Let's face it. It's inevitable that sometimes you're going to do some damage because we're not perfect human beings. Sometimes harsh words will come out. Sometimes damage will be done. You might snap at your partner just because they haven't paid the bill on time. Or you might, rather than asking about why they didn't buy your favourite biscuits in the shopping, you might say, why didn't you do this? Don't you ever think of me? You're so careless, you never think of me when you buy the shopping items. And this is kind of critical. It's a harsh statement. And when you're being criticized and when someone is meeting you with harshness, it's very hard to respond favorably and tune in and move towards your partner. Your natural tendency, well, most people's natural tendency would be to step away or to defend themselves or to become critical of their own partner. And none of that is useful for building relationships. So it's important to recognize if you fall into that trap of using harsh words or harsh statements or deliver your message with a harsh tone, it's important to recognize that you've done that and you'll need to make a repair. Don't just leave it floating. So what are we talking about when we talk about a repair? You need to heal it. You need to fix it. You need to atone. You need to apologize. You can just say, sorry, that came out too harshly. Let me try again and say it a bit better. Or let me just start and be gentler this time. Or you could say, I'm sorry, I'm really worried about the way that came out, and I'd like you to know that I'm just upset I didn't get my favorite biscuits. Or you might even say, look, I'm really worried about my diet, and I know that those biscuits happen to be the ones that have least fat content, and I really wanted them so I could stay on my diet. Look, whatever it is, it's defining yourself more deeply. It's letting them into what's going on for you without the harshness and the criticism, and giving them the message that they're wrong, or that they are bad, or that somehow they're not living up to your standard. They're not good enough. Because folks, I haven't met anybody who likes to receive those messages. So if that's you, being critical, being harsh, using words as a secret weapon to rip up the love between you, if you're allowing conflict and differences to come between you and you're not showing up as your best self, you will need to make a repair. A repair is a way to stop the conflict from escalating. And what we know from science is that when you make frequent, small repairs, you're going to find that there's a decrease in the conflict between you. We already know that from the science. You both need to be committing to make repair, because repair is what heals a relationship. If you've done some damage, you want to heal the relationship and get the two of you back on track to a loving bond that can grow and blossom. I hope you can hear and accept your partner's repair attempts, and I hope that you are committing to making your own repair attempts right now. I want you to know that you and your partner have got a responsibility to keep the conflict constructive, not to use it as a weapon to destroy the love between you. I hope you got something from this podcast, and my goal is to give you lots and lots of little tips. If you'd like some more information about how to have a conversation where differences have emerged and you'd rather avoid the conflict, then download my conflict scaffold now. It's a step-by-step guide to help you do your own internal work and thinking so you can have a safer conversation when you're trying to talk to your partner about differences. Go ahead, download the conflict scaffold now. You'll find it in the show notes. But for now, I just want you to take good care now. Thanks for listening to the Peace and Passion podcast. If you'd like to stay in contact, make sure you subscribe to the show in your podcast app so you don't miss an episode. Now, if you like something here or if something resonated with you, I'd love your encouragement to keep this going. You can do that with a review, a like or a share, or just by telling someone that you think will benefit from hearing this podcast. Take good care now.